Can everybody hear me? Yes? All right. Let's get started. So, today's class, we're going to be talking about the founding fathers. Before I start talking and rambling on about all of these different people, can anybody tell me who were the founding fathers? If you guys know anything, you guys can just unmute yourself and tell me anything you know about the founding fathers. Anything you think.
Is it the father that who has a lot of sons?
Sorry? A father that
Has a lot of sons, or it is?
no. So Jasper, would you have a answer?
Yes, it's the people who helped America for their independence.
That's correct. So, who were the founding fathers? Well, they were the people that played the most important role in creating America. They were in charge and responsible for creating this new country. And well, specifically, who are these people? Well, the founding fathers were just a group of people that were pretty fairly wealthy, and they are all from different colonies. So there were a total of 13 colonies back then when America was just founded, and they believed that America should have independence. They believed that America should have independence from Great Britain. And why? Well, there is a lot of different reasons. First of all, America was getting oppressed by Great Britain during that time. There was a lot of different laws, a lot of taxes that made it miserable to live in America during that time, because for everything you do, you had to pay taxes. For example, the stamp tax, which meant that every time you want to put a stamp on something, you have to go to the British government and ask for a stamp, which will cost you money. So that is one of the reasons why the founding fathers wanted to leave Great Britain and create their own country. Because before that, United States was part of Great Britain. So, can anybody the founding fathers? Does anybody know any of the names of the founding fathers, the people who started America?
George Washington, Alexander Hamilton.
We have one here, George. We have another one, George Washington, and Alexander Hamilton. All right. Does anybody know anybody else? Yes. If you have an answer, you can just unmute yourself and tell me the answer.
Benjamin Franklin.
That's correct. Good job.
And also John Adams.
That's also correct. John Adams. So all of these people were part of the founding fathers. So they were responsible to create the constitutions, create all of the laws, and create the structure for this new country that is now independent from Great Britain. All right. So great job to Jasper, who named 4 of the most important founding fathers, but there are still a few that we're going to be talking about today. Primarily, I'll write them on the top right. We will start with Patrick Henry. Next, we're going to talk about Thomas Paine. Also going to talk about John Hancock.
Thomas Jefferson.
Yes, that's also correct. And another person we're going to be talking about today is Thomas Jefferson. All right. Any questions before we continue? Nope. Perfect. All right. Let's keep going. So, when you create a new country, as the founding fathers do, what are the first things you have to do? Well, the things that you have to do is create your own government. What a government do or does is create laws or to control the people within this new country, to set some standards, to set some rules that people have to follow. And well, that is exactly what the founding fathers did when they first created this new country. And this set of laws or group of rules that people have to follow is called the Declaration of Independence. What exactly is the Declaration of Independence? Well, it is this document over here. So this is the first document that they did. The Declaration of Independence basically said that we are now a self-governing country and that we can create our own laws. We do not follow the laws of Great Britain anymore, and we're going to be our own country and we're going to create our own government, as it says in the title, Declaration of Independence. So they became independent of Great Britain. And well, what is really important about the Declaration of Independence is it marked the first strike of the American Revolution. The Declaration of Independence was signed in 1776. And that was the first year where America basically said, we're going to leave Great Britain. And that kind of started the wars too, because one of your cash cows for Great Britain, so a place that can make you money, suddenly just doesn't leaves you. Well, you kind of want to fight it back. Right. Next, we're going to move on to the Constitution. Does anybody from social studies at school ever learn what a constitution is? Does anybody know what a constitution is? Nope. All right. So a constitution is basically a set of laws, and this is set on this document right here. This document is the Constitution. And what is special about a constitution? Well, the Constitution is basically the fundamentals of a government or a country. So it's the backbone of a country. What it really does is that it is the fundamental laws of the country. So these laws can be changed really easily or broken. So everybody, even the president, has to obey these rules. The most important part of this constitution is that they created this government. The constitution creates government. And well, so what else did the constitution do? When they created a government, this government has a lot of power. You want to keep this power in check. You don't want any single person to have too much power, or it becomes a dictatorship. So one person has most of the money and power, and that is bad. So what does the Constitution do? Well, because it creates this law and rule that people cannot break, they created a government system where there are checks in place. So each person has equal power. And this splits the federal government or the big government into three different branches. The three branches of government. The first branch is called the legislative branch. which basically are the people who create the laws, they write the laws, they create all of the new rules, and pass most of the big decisions for within the country. The second part is called the executive branch. This branch of government is primarily for the government to the executive branch is for the government to cooperate or to negotiate with other countries, and the head of the executive government, the head of the executive branch of government is the president, and the last branch of government is called the judicial branch. The judicial branch basically monitors the law and then decides whenever somebody broken a law and what punishment they get. And usually the judicial is in the form of the Supreme Court. All right. We have one last document here, and that is the Bill of Rights. What a Bill of Rights does is it gives rights to the citizens or everyday people within this country. It gives fundamental rights that these people have. So what are rights? Well, there are certain things that a person can do without breaking a law. So it's a fundamental thing that they can do that is legal, and it's a right for them, so they can do it. And what is really important about the Bill of Rights? Well, the Bill of Rights is actually kind of an extension of the Constitution, because it also establishes some laws that you can and cannot do. And let me just list out some of the Bill of Rights for you, because I think it's pretty important. So the first point of the bill, there's 10 points in total, and the first point on the Bill of Rights is the freedom to religion, speech, press, and petition. The second one, which is the one that it's been debated a lot in America, is the right to keep and bear arms. That means that in America, it is legal and it is your right to be able to own a gun. And I'll just list another one that I think is pretty important, is the right of trial by jury in civil cases, which means that everybody has the right to have their cases trialed by a jury, which basically means people. So it's not just decided by one judge, but your case can be decided by a group of people. All right. Any questions about that? Nope. All right, perfect. So now we're going to, after we set the groundwork on what are some parts of the government that started up, what are some of the most important documents within a government, let's move on to the founding fathers itself. And I listed all of them out in the slides before. So let's just get going. The first founding father I want to talk about is called Patrick Henry. And Patrick Henry was born in 1736 and lived until 1799. He was the first governor of Virginia, or basically the head of government within Virginia, another state, and he was very influential in creating the Bill of Rights. These are some of the things that he did, but the most famous thing that he is famous for is his very famous speech where he said this line, "Give me liberty or give me death." So this is the line that kind of made him stated for this is the line that he stated to the people during his public speech, that he believed that he should have the liberty, basically the liberty from the British government, which means that it's either the American people get liberty, so they are independent from Britain, or he would rather die. So pretty extreme, but this made him very famous and made a lot of people support the American independence because of this very famous line in his speech. All right. Next founding father. The next founding father I want to talk about is Thomas Paine. So these people, so who was Thomas Paine? Well, Thomas Paine was a very avid writer, and he was very famous for writing a certain pamphlet or a very short book, and that book is called The Common Sense. What is important about The Common Sense? Well, it was one of the most popular pieces of work back then. It sold 150,000 copies, which is a lot back then. This book was published in 1776, the same year as the Declaration of Independence. And even to today, almost 300 years later, this book is still being sold and still being printed. That you can see how important of a document this is. And what specifically in The Common Sense is pretty interesting, but also pretty difficult for you guys. So if we summarize it, it was basically to advocate for American independence, talking about all of the pros, so all of the good things about American independence and why the British government control over America was bad. All right. Any questions about these two founding fathers? Nope. All right. So the next founding father I want to talk about is called Tom. After Thomas Paine, it's called John Hancock. John Hancock was born in 1737 and he died in 1793. He was also one of the most important founding fathers, and he was the person that started drafting the American Declaration of Independence and also the Constitution. What he is the most famous for is actually his signature, which is kind of impressive considering that he wrote the Declaration of Independence, but his signature is what caught people's eyes. And why is that? Well, if you see on the screen, this is a segment of the American Declaration of Independence. And you can see from the size, his signature and his handwriting is massive compared to all of the other people that signed this document, so the other founding fathers. And this made him very, very famous for it. And now a lot of people use John Hancock as a slang for somebody's signature. He wrote his signature so big on the document to make sure that his point is across. He was really supporting the American independence, and he really hated people from Britain or the British government. That's why by signing his name this big, he's aggressively supporting the American independence. All right. The next person I want to talk about, everybody should know. And that person is George Washington. So, as everybody all knows, George Washington was the first president of the United States. Kai and Jimmy, do you have a question or?
George Washington defeated the Redcoats by surrounding the city, and they sunk their ships.
That's correct. Very good. Yeah. So George Washington was a very, very good military leader. And he was the person that led the American army to victory against Great Britain. So let's talk about his military leadership. Well, we all know that he was a very good military leader during the American Revolution or independence. But before that, he also fought in a different war, and that war was called the French and Indian War. Or, as other people call it, the 7 Years' War. So this was a war between the French, the Native Americans, the 13 colonies, and also Great Britain. So during this war, it was the French and the Native Americans against Great Britain and the 13 colonies. What is so important about this? Because George Washington wasn't always a very good tactical leader. During one of his first campaigns, he accidentally opened fired on his own allies, and actually his group of people shot his own allies and wounded and killed 13 people, which is not really a good thing when you're a military leader that's supposed to make all of the decisions, and your decision was to shoot your allies. So yeah, he made a lot of bad decisions during that time, but fortunately, during when he was young, he gained a lot of military experience. So from all of these failures, all of these mistakes, he gained experience. And during the American Revolution, he was an inexpensible force. He was very important for America to win this war. Yes, Kai and Jimmy, you have another question?
What was it? World War One or World War Two or World War Three?
Sorry?
Was it World War One or World War Two?
This is neither. So George Washington was fighting during the American Independence War, which was during 1776. So the World War One and World War Two were during the 1910s and also the 1930s. So that is almost 200 years after George Washington. So this is a different war. This wasn't really a world war because it didn't involve the whole world.
It's a Revolution War.
Yes, that's correct. It was the American Revolution War. That's absolutely correct. So that was a bit about George Washington's military, but let's see why he was a very good fit to become the first president of the United States. Well, George Washington was elected to become the first president because of his views and his military prowess, which means he was very good as a militarian, so a person that leads the military, but he was also very good at politics. He didn't have a lot of extreme views, unlike Thomas Jefferson and Alexander Hamilton, which we'll be talking about later. Thomas Jefferson and Hamilton both had pretty extreme views, so they had their own idea on how the country should run. Well, George Washington stepping up as president takes all of their ideas and creates this middle path. So kind of this agreement between the two parties. So what happens is that when the country starts developing, there isn't a lot of extremities. So there's not a lot of left or right side on the political scale. And usually the decisions is very neutral and always good for the country. And that is why people think that he is a very good fit to be the first president, because he steered the ship of the new country in the right direction. All right. Any questions about George Washington? Nope. All right. Let's keep going. So the next founding father I want to talk about is Benjamin Franklin. So he wasn't really the usual founding father that you would think of, because he wasn't always in America during that time. He had a very deep love for France, and he was actually the French ambassador for America. Yes, David, you have a question? Okay, we can get back to David later. So, who was Benjamin Franklin? Well, First of all, he was a very important founding father, and he was also a very avid writer. So he really liked writing a lot, and his pen did a lot of work to spread the message of this American independence. Well, what else about Benjamin Franklin is very interesting is that he spent almost 50% of the time after the American independence in France. He really liked France, and he was actually very important during the French Revolution. Why? Well, as we said, he was a very good writer. He could write a lot of things that are very, very motivating and very persuasive. So it persuaded a lot of people to help join the French Revolution. So that is why he spent most of his time in France and helping the French have their revolution after the American Revolution. But not only that, he was very interesting too. He was also an inventor. Some of the things that he invented you might know about. So the most famous invention that he created is actually the lightning rod. So what does a lightning rod do? Well, a lightning rod is basically a metal stick that diverts lightning away from a building or a place and puts it safely to another place. So basically diverges it or like moves it. This way, some buildings that are prone to getting zapped by electricity won't get zapped and won't have some hazards. So this was very important back then because they didn't have a lot of ways to deal with this massive surge of electricity. So yeah, Benjamin Franklin was in charge of creating the lightning rod. The other invention that was credited to Benjamin Franklin, or people think he invented, is actually the bifocals. So basically, glasses. Yep, Benjamin Franklin were the first people to create glasses. Well, specifically the bifocals. So bifocals is a type of glasses, and Benjamin Franklin was the person that invented this. So you can see Benjamin Franklin was a person that was very, very great at a lot of things. He was really good at writing, and he was also a very avid inventor. He invented a lot of things and liked tinkering. He also invented the term battery. Everybody knows what a battery is, right? It's a thing that you can put into your toys and to make it move. It stores electricity. And what Benjamin Franklin really liked to Benjamin Franklin's most important and most famous experiment is him flying a kite during a thunderstorm. By flying a kite during a thunderstorm, the thunder would hit this kite because it's the highest thing within the area. And it will send this zap of electricity all the way down the kite and down the string until his hand or the key that he was holding. And he will feel that slight little tingle, and he knew that was electricity. So he created or coined the term battery. But unfortunately, back then, he didn't have a way to store that electricity. He just knew that there's this thing called electricity, and it existed. All right. The last point about Benjamin Franklin was that he was also a philanthropist. So what a philanthropist is basically a person that likes to donate a lot of their money to help the good of the people. He was in charge of two very big projects in Pennsylvania. First of all, he created the University of Pennsylvania. He was one of the founders of the school, and his reason for creating this university was so that a lot of people can get better education, so higher education after secondary school. So after high school, this is a free public university for anybody who wanted to get more education. He also created the first fire station in Pennsylvania. Yeah, he recognized that there's a need for public infrastructure, so public buildings. So he believed that fire stations and fire trucks were the best first steps to take. And he believed that these free public infrastructures is very important in building a very strong country, because the people would have trust in the country as they can get a lot of public goods and a lot of public services for free. All right. Any questions about Benjamin Franklin? Nope. All right. So after Benjamin Franklin, let's move on. The person that we're going to be talking about next is Alexander Hamilton.
Ew.
Sorry?
Ew.
You?
Ew. Look at his hair.
Yeah, so that was a hair type that it was very popular back then. So
But it's very ugly.
mhm. But these people didn't really care about how they looked.
They care
Because
about
Yeah, they were more
care about
interested in creating
the-
this country.
what? Not inventions? No, man.
No, Alexander Hamilton wasn't interested in inventions. He liked writing a lot. All right. Kai and Jimmy, you have a question?
Alexander Hamilton died when someone shot him, and he died that following afternoon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, that is a point I was going to say. That is absolutely correct. Alexander Hamilton actually died a pretty horrendous death because he was actually shot. Does anybody know the person who shot him? Let's see. Is that Kai and Jimmy? Would you like to take a guess at it?
Aaron Burr.
Perfect. Yeah, that's correct. Aaron Burr was the person that shot Alexander Hamilton. And he was shot, as you said, at a duel. So when the people were, shooting at each other for their pride. All right. So let's keep going. What's next? Well, let's talk about, before we talk about his death and everything, let's talk about his views and what he did. So Alexander Hamilton was an abolitionist. Does anybody know what an abolitionist is or what abolition is? Nope. All right. Yeah, it's a pretty difficult word, but basically what an abolitionist is a person that believed in the abolishment of slaves. So he believed that there shouldn't be slaves. So he was anti-slave. Mhm. What else is about that is interesting about Alexander Hamilton is that he was very interested in a central system. So he believed in a strong central government. So unlike other founding fathers, he believed that if the country had a very strong government or a very powerful government, they can develop into a very big and prosperous country. What else about Alexander Hamilton? Well, there's two things that he was very famous for too. The American Constitution, which he was a co-writer for because he really believed in the thought of a constitution. He believed that there should be rules in place and checks in place to keep the government under control. Well, and the other thing that he created that was very, very important to modern days is actually the National Bank. Well, so the Bank of America, that was his creation, and the Federal Reserve, that is thanks to Alexander Hamilton. He recognized that part of that central government, you need the central monetary system, so money system. And with a national bank, you're able to take taxes and put all of that tax money into something important, like building roads, creating more public infrastructure, and etc. etc. And last point on Alexander Hamilton was that he was Washington's right hand man. So he was the most important person when George Washington was the president. All right, Kai and Jimmy, you have a question?
Did Alexander Hamilton's mom died before he was born?
Close, but Alexander Hamilton's mother died really early on. So Alexander Hamilton was very young when his mother died. But still, he was still said to be an orphan because his mother died when he was only 7. So he got taken in by a different family, which helped him, the family motivated him to pursue his education. So he was very interested in writing and just reading when he was younger. All right. Okay, let's move on to our final founding father. The final founding father I want to talk about is Thomas Jefferson. He was also very famous for his pretty extreme views, and he was kind of seen as a rival to Hamilton because they had pretty opposing views. They had different thoughts. So, what are some things that are different between Thomas Jefferson and Hamilton? Well, unlike Hamilton, Thomas Jefferson owned slaves. He had a very big estate and a lot of plantations where he needed a lot of slaves, and he really believed in a agrarian society, or a society that focused on agriculture. Which meant that he really didn't like central governments. Oh, sorry. Let's write that again. Central government. That was a big no-no for him. He didn't believe in the big central governments. Why, you say? Well, central government was very, very important to create this very central system. And Thomas Jefferson didn't like the government having power. Government power was also a big no. He really didn't like having big powers. Oh, sorry. Get rid of all of this. Big mess. All right. So he really didn't like government having power. So he also opposed the central bank system. He didn't like the central bank system. And the last point that he didn't agree with Hamilton on was an army. Thomas Jefferson didn't believe that the country should have a standing army because he believed that if a country always had an army on hand, that means that the country is prepared to go to war, which he didn't like the thought of that. He wanted a peaceful country that can slowly grow and to do agriculture and to just be a farming country. Unlike Hamilton, which believed that their country has to expand vastly and wanted to push the country to expand very fast. All right. Any questions on that? Nope. Everybody clear? All right, I'm just gonna erase everything and we can move on to the last point. So the person that I want to talk about for the last today is not a founding father, actually. The last person I want to talk about today is called King George III. Does anybody know who this is? Does anybody know? Would anybody like to take a guess at who King George was?
He was the King of England.
Yes, that is correct. What was very important about him? Well, he was the King of England. That means that he was the person that the founding fathers were fighting. And he, as the monarch or the king of Great Britain, he believed that America was going to fail without the help of Great Britain. So he didn't really think really much after he lost the war. He lost the war and thinking, well, America is such a weak country. Without Great Britain helping them, they will fail. Well, clearly he was wrong. So to explore King George's views more, there is a very short video or very short audio that I want to share, which kind of explains what King George thought when he heard about this constitution and this revolt. So this is a clip. This is a very famous clip from a Broadway show, so a musical where people sing and dance. And this musical is very famous. The musical is called Hamilton. So this is a music video or one of the pieces that they present in Hamilton, which is a Broadway on the founding fathers and how they created this new country. So can I get a thumbs up if you can see the screen? Perfect. All right. So again, this is the video on the views of King George and what he thought about when he heard about this revolution. You guys can hear it?
You say the price of my love is not a price that you're willing to pay. You cry in your tea, which you hurl in the sea when you see me go by. Why so sad? Remember we made an arrangement when you went away. Now you're making me mad. Remember, despite our estrangement, I'm your man. You'll be back, soon you'll see. You remember you belong to me. You'll be back, time will tell. You remember that I served you well. Oceans rise, empires fall. We have seen each other through it all. And when push comes to shove, I will send a fully armed battalion to remind you of my love. Da 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 da. Da 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 ya da. Da 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 ya da. Da 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 da. Da 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 ya da. Da 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 da. You say our love is draining and you can't go on. You'll be the one complaining when I am gone. And no, don't change the subject, 'cause you're my favorite subject. My sweet, submissive subject. My loyal, royal project forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. You'll be back like before. I will fight the fight and win the war for your love, for your praise, and I'll love you till my dying days. When you're gone, I'll go mad, so don't throw away this thing we had. 'Cause when push comes to shove, I will kill your friends and family to remind you of my love. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Everybody. Da 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 da
All right. So many of you guys said that this is a very weird video, right? That's what I heard. So
Yeah, teacher.
Yeah.
Why does he? That's the real voice or no? Is that a people or just a people just saying that?
that was no, that wasn't actual King George. That was part. It's part of a musical, so a Broadway. So it's a part of kind of a movie kind of thing. And what is very interesting about this is actually you think it's kind of weird and crazy, right? But it's actually a
Yeah.
very good depiction of King George because during that time he was kind of going crazy. He wasn't actually good in his head, especially after he lost like his large colonies. He was actually kind of going crazy. So the song kind of mimicked what he thought after he heard wanting to leave. He was going crazy and he was like threatening, and he thinks that if I can just kill all of you guys would have to become a colony of ours again. Yeah. All right. So all right. So we have a choice right now. We can either watch another video from Hamilton that talks about Alexander Hamilton, or we can do a Kahoot. So what would you like? What would you guys like to do?
The video about
Kahoot.
that
The Kahoot or the video?
Kahoot.
video.
Kahoot.
The video.
Video. The Kahoot. Video.
How about this? We watch the video and then we do the Kahoot. If you guys want to.
Yes.
Yes or
Yes.
I don't
Alright.
even want to do Kahoot.
Freya, just give it a chance, okay?
I want to do it for a second time.
You have to do it. You have to do it.
Stop it.
Or yes.
The song is from the musical.
Mhm. All right. Thumbs up if you guys can see the screen. This is the video. This is
Where's the musical?
Oh, would you like to see the musical or would you like to just see the singing?
The musical, please.
All right. Give me a
Musical.
second. Okay.
Why am I unmuted?
Sorry.
妈妈，
No.
妈妈准备电脑，这个视频看完了就。
All right, give me a second. Thumbs up if you guys can see the screen, and I can start the video. All right. So unfortunately, because of Zoom, it's going to be a bit choppy, but please bear with me.
How does a bastard, orphan, son of a whore and a Scotsman, dropped in the middle of a forgotten spot in the Caribbean by Providence, impoverished and
I can't see the like. And just listen to it. It's a song. It's not a video.
without a father, got a lot farther by working a lot harder, by being
Can you guys
a
not
lot
see?
smarter, by being a self-starter. By 14, they placed him in charge of a trading charter.
And every day while slaves were being slaughtered and carted away across the waves, he struggled and kept his guard up. Inside he was longing for something to be a part of. The brother was ready to beg, steal, borrow, or barter.
Then a hurricane came and devastation reigned. Our man saw his future dripping down the drain. Put a pencil to his temple, connected it to his brain, and he wrote his first refrain, a testament to his pain. Other word got around, they said this kid is insane, man. Took up a collection just to send him to the mainland. Get your education, don't forget from whence you came, and the world's gonna know your name. What's your name, man? Alexander Hamilton. My name is Alexander Hamilton. And there's a million things I haven't done. But just you wait, just you wait.
When he was 10, his father split full of it, debt-ridden. 2 years later, see Alex and his mother bedridden, half dead.
All right, you guys, let me pause it there. Can you guys not see the video? Nope. All right. Sorry about that. Only change a different version. Sorry. That was a version on Disney Plus. So I think they do not let me stream it. Sorry. Let's try that again. I have a different version. There we go. Perfect. All right. Don't think they can block this one. All right. So again, this is from the show. Hamilton.
Now.
Yes.
Oh no.
You have a Lydia? You have a question?
Well, this is this place is kind of familiar.
It's in New York.
Yeah, it's one of the Broadways in New York. All right.
Wait, so the old people was there?
Yep.
What if they found old people inside down the dirt?
No. So this is a reenactment. So it's a play. It's fake.
Ah.
Yeah. All right. So you guys can see the screen now, right?
Teacher.
Yes.
This is just really weird. They do like it's kind of crinky.
Yeah, of course. It's kind of weird because so this is a musical, so they're supposed to it's all about singing and like presenting Hamilton's story through songs. So I suggest all of you guys, if you're interested in United States history, to check it out because you can learn a lot of things from it and it's pretty interesting. Although it can get a bit weird.
Was it a rap?
It was part of it was a rap, but it was also it's a musical, so it's part rap, part song to tell a story.
Teacher, today we learned in history. We learned something new. What? Tell her, Brenda. No, that's social studies, right?
The First Nations. Not me.
Right,
I'm eating.
All right.
So we go
So,
now.
do people want to play a Kahoot?
Yeah. Can you give the game pin?
God.
Yep, it's on screen right now. So anybody who wants to join can join, but if you're not interested,
Let me get my phone.
you do not have to.
Let me go get my phone.
I'm just gonna finish this off.
Okay, what's the code?
It's on the screen right now.
Oh.
Harvey doesn't like a Kahoot, I can see. So, Harvey, if you do not want to participate in the Kahoot, that is the end of the lesson. So, all of you guys are free to go if you do not want to participate in the Kahoot.
I wouldn't pay attention.
Go to English.
I get them all to leave. Bye. Bye. I'm out of here. Bye, friend. This doesn't let me.
I joined.
I'm just out of here. I'm out of here.
Teacher.
Yep. Yes.
I don't know where do I join. You have to go
Okay.
on Kahoot. It says
Yeah, you have to go to www.kahoot.it.
Oh. www dot Kahoot dot it. I can't find it. I am just Are we starting yet?
Is everybody in? Can I get a thumbs up for those who are in? Yep. All right. Would you like to start?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, we can get started then.
Okay.
So there's 11 questions in total.
What? 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Right.
Yeah.
Good job. Let's keep going. Perfect. Yep. Declaration of Independence plus a document to declare the independence of USA. Great job. Perfect. Yeah. Most of you guys got that right.
Teacher,
Yes.
my problem is I can't see the picture and I just only have those squares. I'm quite confused.
Okay, so for the squares, do you see my screen? You have to use my screen as well. My screen has all the answers. And for the answers, you pick the squares you want.
Oh.
So say the green, say the answer is the green square. Well, you have to press the green square on your phone.
Okay.
All right. We see Anton in the lead, followed by Brianna. Perfect. Yep. Thomas Paine's book or pamphlet was called The Common Sense. Yeah, as we talked about, his signature was very important. This is a pretty easy question, so I think everybody can get it. Great job. Yeah, George Washington was the first president of USA. Well, Brianna's still in the lead. So remember, he invented something, but he created the term for something. Yeah. So yeah, that was a very close. That was very close because, as we said, he invented the lightning rod, but unfortunately, he didn't have the things to create batteries. So he only discovered this thing called battery, but he couldn't invent it or create it. So we were talking about this. So how did Hamilton die? Oh, wow. That was very split decision. So the correct one was that he died in a duel. And that duel was against Aaron Burr. So Aaron Burr killed him within a duel. Great job, Anton and Kai and Jimmy. You guys are doing great. Let's keep going. So, Thomas Jefferson did not own slaves. Is that true or is that false? Be careful of the wording of the question. It's did not own slaves. Yeah, so that kind of might be a bit tricky because I said that in the question, it's Thomas Jefferson did not own slaves. So it's false. He did own slaves. All right, last question. We watched his small monologue, his own song. And do you remember who was the name of this monarch? Perfect. Everybody got that right. That is correct. His name was King George III. Kind Jimmy is second place. Congratulations, Anton, on getting first place in this Kahoot. Right. So that will be the end of the Kahoot and the end of the lesson. So if you guys have no more questions, you guys are free to go. But if you have a question, you can stay behind and ask me.
Bye-bye.
All right.